When we were working with the AHA process, one of the things that I admired the most is watching how distinct groups of people were able to come together around a common goal.
Building relationships is so key to the educational process. The deposits and withdrawals that we make really determine what kind of environment we're going to have in our classroom, and I've always believed that.
And when you stand up in front of a classroom full of students looking at you, you think they know what you know, they live in the world that you live in, and when you speak, you expect them to understand what you're talking about.
The biggest impact has been the realization that as middle class people, we don't understand how people who live in impoverished backgrounds function on a daily basis. And this training has really helped us to be able to gain an insight into Dr. Payne's framework.
One of the constructs in the training is this whole concept of hidden rules. And hidden rules are unspoken cueing mechanisms people use to let you know you do or don't belong. The reason hidden rules become so critical is they break relationships.
And the relationship building piece of what Ruby Payne has taught me is critical. I think that's the bottom line. I don't think you could move on without it. I think you have to do that first and foremost.
If you don't have a relationship with your teachers, you might as well say that your family doesn't care about you, because like in school it's like another family you have. They care about you being successful and finishing your studies and making good grades so you won't repeat the year.
The teachers actually treated us like family, you know, and what was kind of good to me is where I never really seen my mom because she always worked. And like when I came to school, you know, I could see my mom and some of the teachers. I seen my mom and Miss Broadway. I listened to them, you know, yes ma'am, no sir, yes sir. And that kind of like propelled me to actually mature.
I remember one teacher who came storming into a colleague's room and said, "Where are those books? I want to figure this out. The strategies worked. Give me more." And that was exciting. I think that was one of the biggest strengths of the AHA process, is it got us all on the same page, working towards a common goal of student achievement.
When we talk about building human capacity and achievement, you have to have information bases, but you also have to have relationships with people different than you are.
We had this one girl. She was rotten. I mean, she was just tough. She fought on the street all the time because she was the parent in her neighborhood. She was the parent in her household. We kept building relationships unconditionally, but we didn't give up on her, and we continued to do that. Came back to us in 8th grade. She still had that attitude, but it changed slowly but surely. She started telling me a story, and my team teacher and I, we were talking to her, and this student started crying, and it was really sad, and it made me cry, and I grabbed a tissue and dabbed my eyes, and we hugged, and it was all good. We got a letter back from her, the little note, the little contraband notes that we get every now and then, and she's in high school doing well. And the last line of it, and it almost makes me cry, the last line of it, she said, "Miss Murdaugh, do you remember when I told you the story about this event and it made you cry?" And she said, "I have your tissue hung in my locker in high school." So that's what we do. That's not what I do. That's what we do here. That's what Ruby has taught us to do.
I think, you know, when you look at this model, you think about, oh, I'm just going to read Ruby Payne's book and I'm just going to do what she says. But I think in order to get the great results, you must utilize the consultants, because a lot of training, a lot of professional development comes from there.
Initially, I came into it with a somewhat closed mind, given that in my business of athletics, I just didn't think it was probably something that I really was going to be that interested in. I felt like it was probably more for academics than anything else, and it's across the board. It doesn't matter whether it's in athletics or whether it's in the classroom. The topics that we've talked about in some of these seminars, it's a daily thing, and it's definitely helped me in my position.
When I'm explaining these strategies to other people, it's just that. They're strategies that you can pull in no matter what you're teaching or what you're doing. It's ways to reach students and give them extra tools that they need to be successful.
In 2003, in math, we were at 5% proficient at advanced. In literacy, we were at 16%. In 2010, we are now sitting in math at 57.9%. In literacy, we're at 49.4%. So we can see significant change In 2007, our Algebra 1 test scores were 78% proficient. In 2010, we were at 97% proficient. In geometry in 2007, we were 84% proficient. In 2010, we were 100% proficient. And this is 7th and 8th grade students taking a high school level course. And we can relate that all back to the Ruby Paint strategies.
And it truly can move your district from wherever you are to where you want to be.
The benefits of using the framework information for me has been used in a professional development opportunity where I've worked with teachers. And through using this framework's information, they have learned how to have better relationships with their students.
I think the most important thing I'd like other people to know about framework and the AHA process and all the pieces is that it works. I've taught for 26 years, all in the urban neighborhoods of Denver Public Schools, and this is the most meaningful professional development I've ever experienced.
It's so simple that people don't think, that doesn't work, or surely that's not the answer to my problems in education, and it is. When I look at the high schools and the trouble that they have with our kids, a lot of it is because of the relationship piece that the kids are missing, because kids work. When they know you like them, they know you care. And I'm not saying that others don't care, but they need to know that you care. And that's when you get that performance out of the students.
If there's someone out there that is looking at using the Ruby Paint model, they need to come to a school that's implemented it and look and see what's going on and see the relationship piece in action, and they'll want to do it because it's made a significant change in my life and my students' life, in the culture of our building, the culture of our school.